Welcome back to the Big Weekend Show. 8 days and counting until the Iowa caucuses. And tonight, Republican presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis is responding to rumors that he might drop out after Iowa. Fox News correspondent Bill Malugin spoke with the governor and is in Des Moines tonight.
Well, guys, there have been rumors circulating in the media that Governor DeSantis would be dropping out of the race if he couldn't beat Donald Trump on caucus night. DeSantis denied those rumors today, but Donald Trump brought them up during one of his rallies here in Iowa. Take a listen.
I wouldn't tell you who to vote for. I tell you, I wouldn't know. They're both not good. They're both, there's a rumor that Ron's going to leave the race right after this. I read it.
And this was a town hall event that Governor DeSantis held in Grimes, Iowa earlier today. He took questions from the public, said that he would defund the UN, that he would drill on day number one. I caught up with him after the event and I asked him directly if there's any truth to the rumors that he would drop out if Donald Trump were to beat him. Take a listen.
A lie, totally made up. And when people fabricate these anonymous sources and do it, why he's saying that is because he wants people to somehow think, why should I go in negative 20-degree weather to help? No, you should show up because we're the one that can get the job done for this country. But that report is categorically false.
Back out here, both DeSantis and Nikki Haley have been escalating their attacks on Donald Trump in recent days and weeks as he is still the clear front runner. I also asked DeSantis, does he feel that the relationship between he and Trump can ever be salvaged? He told me it's never been personal for him. He feels that Trump has always taken it more personal. We'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Bill. So, Guy, is that a rumor intentionally to try to, put this out there? Or is that just the reality of the situation that DeSantis would drop out after Iowa?
It wouldn't surprise me if this were maybe a dirty trick planted out there to start the whispers, to sow the seeds of doubt, saying, OK, if even DeSantis is drawing this line in the sand and he doesn't win in Iowa, they're sort of trying to shove him out the door. And to try to demoralize maybe his supporters now that we're just a little over a week away from the Iowa caucuses. As I said last night, he's been working DeSantis very, very hard on the ground in Iowa. He's got a lot at stake in that state. If he performs very poorly, then I think there will be some tough conversations within that campaign. But look, we always or often in the early days of these primary seasons see some surprises. Now, look, it would be a big surprise if someone other than Trump wins Iowa, but I think writing anyone off, especially someone who's been at least competitive in that state at this stage, is premature.
But the numbers are tough if you're DeSantis or you're Nikki Haley and seeing a viable path forward. I want to play some sound, and then I want to go to you, Alicia, on this. This is former Speaker Newt Gingrich. Let's take a listen.
It's really hard to imagine in the next week how Trump is going to do anything except sweep Iowa. He's built his lead. He's actually worked the state. Ron DeSantis gets 200 people. Trump gets 7,000. That sort of tells you something.
Lisa, look, I love Governor DeSantis. He's an amazing governor. He's a great guy. Not a fan of Nikki Haley. We established that last night. But, if you're any of these other candidates, if you lose Iowa, then you get to New Hampshire, you get to South Carolina. Trump is, according to polls, up by an average of 22 in New Hampshire, an average of 30 in South Carolina. I mean, what is the path for anyone else?
Well, when you lay it out that way, the path doesn't look good, right? Because when you start losing races in the early races, the money dries up pretty quickly, and then you really don't have a choice. However, I will say, in talking to voters over the last 2 decades, covering races, they don't like being told what to do. And right now, the narrative is that Trump is going to take this thing and sweep through Iowa, sweep through New Hampshire, and just keep on going all the way to the convention in July. It's January, and we have to, I believe, give the voters a chance. The polls are telling us so much, but to Guy's point, there have been surprises. Will there be an earthquake? Probably not, but it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. Fox News has a town. It hasn't even started. Fox News has a town hall with Nikki Haley tomorrow. We have DeSantis on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, the former president. So I think voters still have a lot to hear. There may be some who have already made up their minds, but there are also some who are like, look, give me a chance to show up first.
Well, I think we're having some of this inevitability sort of seep into these conversations just because the polls are so dramatic and He really is polling like he's an incumbent. So I think that's part of it. Doctor, I want to get to this. This is Elise Stefanik. Let's take a listen.
It hasn't started.
It hasn't even started. Fox News has a town hall with Nikki Haley tomorrow. We have DeSantis on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, the former president. So I think voters still have a lot to hear. There may be some who have already made up their minds, but there are also some who are like, look, give me a chance to show up first. Well, I think we're having some of this inevitability sort of seep into these conversations just because the polls are so dramatic and he really is polling like he's an incumbent. So I think that's part of it. Doctor, I want to get to this. This is
I, of course, would be honored to serve in any capacity in a Trump administration. I'm proud to be the first member of Congress to endorse his re-election. I'm proud to be a strong supporter of President Trump, and he's going to win this November. I'm not going to get into the content of my conversation with President Trump. I talk to him frequently. We've been focused on winning.
So, Doctor, along with, the conversation sort of about inevitability, she's already being asked, hey, would you consider being a VP? So, look, if it is Trump, who are you looking at? Who do you think would be a good pick for him?
I don't think that she's going to be a consideration. She's too green. She's too new. I think a woman would be a really good idea for Trump. I think, Nikki Haley, look, Nikki Haley has made a lot of mistakes. But to Guy's point, I think, with New Hampshire coming up and South Carolina, that's her home state. She's going to end up being the alternative, I think, unless DeSantis surprises us. So she'll be the likely number two. It used to be that when you finished second in the United States, you got the vice presidential spot. But the other person to talk about is Kristi Noem. Now, she's not as popular as she was. She's had some scandals. Joni Ernst in Iowa, young junior senator there, I think is popular. I think he's going to choose a woman if he gets the nomination.
Guy, real quick before we go, tell us why Nikki Haley is terrible and she shouldn't be picked as VP.
I'm absolutely not going to do that. You can if you'd like to. But look, I think, you can imagine a path for DeSantis if he pulls off a surprise in Iowa. You can also imagine a path for Nikki Haley if she wins in New Hampshire and then goes full head of steam as the alternative in her home state of South Carolina. You can imagine it. It's still, you have to squint a little bit, given the polling data that you referenced.
Yeah. All right. Well, but even more reason why you need to tune in this week as Martha McCallum and Bret Baier moderate town halls from Iowa. Nikki Haley will be on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Ron DeSantis is at Tuesday at 6 p.m. And Donald Trump is on Wednesday at 9 p.m. You're not going to want to miss that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.